Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I would show you an update on this big sled CV mover and also continue working on that littler mech over there some more, trying to get part two of that done. To start with, on this new ship that I've been working on quite a bit, it's a big ship, no doubt. It is. I think the final length, at least on what I've got right now, it would be 268 meters, which I think is somewhere around 870 feet long. It's not as big as the MCRN Leviathan, which is coming in at 342 meters long. But obviously, you look at the MCRN Leviathan, you see a size class 55, which is like, oh. Okay, so that's going to be extremely limited in gameplay. Now, currently, this ship is sitting in at size class 5, just over size class 5 by a smidgen. And it'll go up more in size class, but nothing like the Leviathan will, or did. Basically, what's going on with this is it's kind of more of a hollow chassis. Now, what I'm setting up, and this was based on some comments or a comment in the chat on looking at the first version. It was basically set this up so it can so you can like build like CVs that can like dock into the sides that could do different functions. You know, one could be a farming thing, one could be production, one could be all kinds of different things. Basically, anything you can come up with. So basically, I was setting up these bays, and the idea would be these CVs would come in here and they would like park up against this interior wall here. Now inside the ship there's a big column that goes to the center that would allow you access, you know, to get to 4 of these big dock CVs that would actually be in the area, or could, you know, up to 4 big dock CVs. But then most of this under here is just kind of like, it's open space right now. Now I'll do a lot more with trying to make it look neat and stuff, but the idea of why I'm able to keep this one at such a lower size class for its size is the fact that it's just, I'm trying to like not use a lot of blocks. Like this thing was just, you know, crazy. But this one here, it's like you're going to have this big hangar area up front here, which is going to be mostly open. I'm toying with the idea on where exactly I'm going to have the bridge on this right now. See, that's the thing. I don't really want to build, although it might look cool, but I don't really want to build like a center mass like what this ship has on it, because I mean that's a lot of blocks and it's disruptive for the what it primarily is, and that is to move CVs. So I kind of want to just keep this thing flat and skinny the way it is right now. And I was thinking about popping in some kind of bridge kind of in the center area here. These would be a couple hangar bays, I guess, and I can fit a door in here. That's what I was doing with this, but unfortunately the doors that I could fit in are the 5x9 hangar doors, because this isn't tall enough for the 7 high doors. And then so I might be exploring other alternative ideas as to hangar doors on the front of it. Maybe force fields and ramps or something. I'll have to mess around with that. I'd prefer to have something that actually was a little bit angled on the front, kind of like what the sidewalls are. And then I was thinking, yeah, if the bridge was like, maybe I'll build something out over here and have like a little bridge which was very close to where the players would be hanging out, which would typically be in this hangar space at the front of the ship. And this hangar stops as soon as you get to the first bay. So basically the hangar ends here. And then this is just open block areas. Now these beams that are coming out over here, I'm planning on redoing those and trying to make them look a little more structurally sound. Maybe have like some cross I-beams or something in there, just some deco stuff. But it's pretty much going to be open air. Now another thing I'm doing on this ship too is, well, let's take a look at the CPU. Now currently you see that I'm just about at 2.7 million CPU, and I've got 3 quantum cores in here. And don't worry about that though, because I'm planning to ship out with like more thrusters than it would come with stock, and that's the reason for it. Now what I'm doing on this ship is It's not going to come with all these, but it could be easily upgraded to run 8XL forward thrusters, 6 XL lift thrusters. There's 4 back there and 2 up in the front. 6 large strafing thrusters, 1 up there and 2 in back. 6 down thrusters, again large thrusters. And keep in mind, now this is a carbon substrate hull, and in comments, it was brought up that it's dangerous. It could be dangerous to, if you run into something nasty. And I understand that, and I've run into nastiness before, like warping into a place. I guess what I'm trying to do is have this ship be able to hit maximum speed. It will have an advanced shield and advanced warp core, and it's not meant for fighting though. I mean, if anything, I do plan on putting some turrets on here, but I'm thinking the majority of those turrets would be in the back of the ship, purely if you're trying to get away from drones or something like that that could keep up with you, that it would be firing behind. And in combination with the shields. So those drones that are really fast, comparatively speaking to combat CVs and stuff, also don't do a lot of damage. Now, I do worry. I mean, of course, this is carbon substrate, but this chassis just needs to be lightweight. If I were to make this out of even steel, which isn't super wonderful either, it's going to add a lot of weight to it, and especially if I go to, hardened steel or combat steel or whatnot, it's going to be heavy, and that kind of defeats the point of it moving other ships if it weighs a ton itself. Now, right now, it's really lightweight, and it flies like a small little SV fighter, actually. Like, kind of see me jumping around here really quick. It'll gain a little bit of weight, but it's not going to gain a tremendous amount of weight either. But I think this would be nice because it could actually move the stuff I want it to move. And I tested this right now with, well, basically I don't have XCaliber's new ship. It's a pretty big ship. It's bigger than the Trebuchet, but I know I can fit the Trebuchet on one side. I could fit that other ship on another side, and it has enough room in back to land the Carrier Infector, if I said that correctly, on it, or just a number. I mean, whatever you want. It's a giant landing pad. And then for all this production stuff, since it's pretty much all the chassis, all the CPU on the chassis is going to be about its main things, its main parts like thrusters and power and fuel and stuff like that. So it's not going to have, I don't think I'm going to put in any stock crafting on this. Now, I wouldn't mind putting in some storage. Maybe I'll do that. But, advanced constructors and stuff, they cost quite a bit of CPU. And I'm thinking if you had these modules, or even one module for crafting docked in here, and these modules can be pretty big too. I was measuring out the dimensions, and that is leaving one block row open on all sides. But it can be 22 in length, 17 wide, and 5 blocks tall as maximum. And it can dock 4 of these onto here. Now, these center areas are just kind of open air. I could put a floor on there and make these some kind of little landing pad things or something too. I'm not sure what I want to do with that yet. So I'll figure that out when I get there. But I don't want to use a lot of blocks. And then down the center of the ship is how you access the flight deck and all these other ships going through here. And I was even thinking I might indent this down a block row just to give it a little bit of I don't know, a little something different to look at. So you might have like a indented walk path where you can like walk under here, like underneath the CVs, and then go up to different points that would, like whether it's in the far back of the ship or in the front of the ship or whatever. But I don't know. I'm kind of liking it. I think it'll work. I don't want to require players to, run a bunch of quantum cores on their movement ship when they would probably rather put them in a combat CV or something else. But if you're late game and you're requiring a lot of quantum cores or, you know, other things like that, you could be able to soup this ship up. Now, if I removed a bunch of these thrusters, like I took out, you know, like 4 of these XLs back there and another XL over here, it's far more CPU compliant. And I can kind of just keep on modifying this and just give you slots to add these thrusters. But it'll move pretty good with half the thrusters it has on it right now. I just want to have that maximum capability. So I figured I might as well build the chassis with full thrusters in mind, and then like remove ones, you know, after the fact to keep the CPU at the 2.1 million level. But that's where I'm at. Okay, so enough with that. How about this little mech thing here over? So last video it was started. Here, let's get this. Let's get the HUD back here, and I'm going to throw on some symmetry here in a minute. All right. So to continue with it, now last time it was just a bunch of blocks and started shaping the legs and the chest a little bit. Now the next part is I wanted to keep on refining those areas, but I got to build some new areas like the feet and stuff like that. So maybe I'll start with the feet. Trying to think what would look neat with the feet here. I'm gonna get rid of some of this here in the middle here too. We'll leave the core for now. So I'm gonna back these off a little bit, and we're gonna start already going to some form of angled blocks here. Try to figure out scaling and proportions. So just kind of getting rid of the blocky look here, adding some other alternative blocks here to give it a little bit more shape. I'm wondering if I got the feet too far. Yeah, I think the feet are a little too big on the front maybe now. Let's try to tone that down a bit. And do something like that. Alright, so we kind of want these feet to come up here a little bit too. So let's keep on going with this angle. A bit more. I'm missing the swivel block here. So how I did it? Yeah, so it's on the other side. Okay. Let's get those in there. And a couple more of these. Let's get a little trim up on the back of the lower leg section here. Front here, this probably should be armored. I'm just wondering if there's something I can do to angle that a little bit more. I've got this flare out angle on the outside. I could do the same on the inside, but I don't know if I want to or not. I need to fill this area in, so I guess we'll just keep it simple right now and just put in like the straight blocks. Kind of looks armored down there, I suppose. I am kind of looking at this too, wondering if I can find a different block combination that could make that look a little bit better. But now, one thing I did want to do though is to have it look like it mounts to something. Like this is a swivel knee joint, and then it has to connect to the lower leg. Now I could do that, I suppose, in a place you couldn't technically see in the middle, but I'm wondering if I shouldn't try to build something up like maybe that. You know, I don't know if I should go with so much round, so it looks like the legs like join up to the other part. And we could actually do that on the inside as well. Whoops. Oh, I do that a lot. Darn it. When I'm building sometimes I'm not looking at the keyboard and I'll like move my my one hand like a row of keys over, and one of those keys happens to throw away whatever you currently have equipped. So I do occasionally do that. There. Well, I guess we are going to have to flare out the inside a little bit here too. So now I can fit those joining parts. So let's do a couple of these, but I don't want it thick. My only grievance with this is these blocks here fit, but I don't particularly like the angle on it. It's alright, I guess. But it gives a kind of a weird wonky shadow, and like this angle, technically I would want it to be the same angle as what I can follow here, and it's not. It's a little different, so it kind of gives that wonky feeling to it. But other than that, that's about it. It's not too bad. I'd rather have a block that works or fits than no block at all. Maybe something like that. This is all sorts of messed up back here too. So maybe what I should do is scrap the round there and go with a more angular block like this. That's kind of got the same general dimensions, I suppose. It might work out a little bit better. Well, that's another thing too. These are just straight 45s, and I like to use angles. So let's try to not use the 45s and try to use something else that's 45 like with a bit of an angle, like this block. So then you get that depth there. But then that's going to make it really hard to tie into this part unless I use the same block again. Let's reverse it and get the other side done too. So we'd have one there, and then here. Okay. Okay, so now the back of the legs right here. It's kind of like I'd like to angle that in too, but I gotta see what I'm working with here. Is that gonna be easily doable, or nothing will fit right? Don't know yet. So let's split it up from that angle, and we're gonna go from that 45 wedge to this one here and see if that looks any bit decent or not. Not sure. So we could do that with it. It's got a little bit more shaping. I don't know if it's the correct shaping for what I'm trying to do. I'll keep it though for now. Look at it some more and see if there's anything that pops into mind. Now I'm debating whether or not to just leave this a full solid area. And here it comes to the next part that might be a little bit troublesome with building something like this. That's not the right thruster. Where is it? No, this is the thruster I wanted. Yeah, I gotta get thrusters in this thing, and that, I mean, thrusters in a mech like this might not look the greatest, but it's going to be kind of required. Well, how can I discreetly keep these thrusters in here with enough power to move decently, but kind of keep them on the down low, so you're not like looking at these things much. I'm thinking this would be a nice way to do like forward thrust. Maybe stick some thrusters there. It kind of keeps them concealed, but full open thrust space. And that could work for forward thrust. I wouldn't think it would need more than that, but could always pop in a couple more somewhere. Now, yeah, someone also suggested in comments too that maybe it would be cool to, what if you had a mech that was actually a base and served as a base defense turret? Um, I thought about that. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. Um, the reason why I decided not to do that, I thought about it. I really, really did. And then I started like evaluating options, and I'm like, well, man, I'm trying to make a mech that's going to look kind of mechish, and you could with the base, but the problem is the actual weapons. Like if I was going to set up a base defense turret, I would have to put first no fixed weapons like this, and second I'd have to put in like a good range of turrets to be able to shoot at all the different directions, which I think would probably look really strange on a mech. And it's like, where would I even mount those turrets and to get the correct angles and stuff like that? And that is where I was kind of failing logistically wise on how I could set up something like a mech that's standing up like this with making it look like a mech and also having like a good coverage defense thing on it. Like the turret defenses that I do build are, it's the shape basically dictates on how I want to set the turrets up so they can all shoot and not be obstructed by other things and get that wide range angle going on. On something like this, I don't think there's any way I could do it, or I'd have to compromise the mech part of it so much that it would probably look silly in the end. So, but that's just on what I can think of right now. It doesn't mean that it can't be done. I haven't come up with a good solution for that yet. Um, so this one I was just thinking, what if it does move? What if this is a light fighter, um, that you could go out exploring with, I guess. But at the end of the day, I do understand that it's more of a vanity project than anything else. Shape ship like this typically isn't going to perform terribly well in game, and it's hard to get in, and it's hard to, well, it might not be hard to land, but it's awkward. It's just going to be awkward, and it's probably going to fly weird too. I wouldn't doubt that. It'll probably feel really pitchy or something. All right. So getting there a little bit more. I guess that's a little bit more tweaking on the legs. I guess other parts that really need some work here is the torso section. Um, might do some alterations on this though. So this block here, one of my more favorite blocks at this point in time, and its alternatives. I think maybe that ought to come down there, and then this block could probably change so it works with the other block. And then what do we do on the bottom here? I want to keep that little lip there. I kind of want to see some of this stuff, like, yeah, I could replace these blocks and have it match the other block and just keep that straight diamond pattern. But some of this little jogging, like it's a different block, it doesn't line up and it doesn't fit right. Well, it is adding some definition though, and you can texture it differently, and stuff like that I think can add to the looks of it, one way or another. Let's see, I still like to keep messing with stuff and keep on trying to tweak it and see if I can get each part to look a little bit better. So I'm going to try that down here. See if rather than kind of the square look that I was just doing there, how would it look if I actually put in some, again, angled blocks here instead, like something like that, and then replace these blocks with something that fits. I can pull that block and just put in something that lines up to the others, and there you go. Now we've got, and then we can do one last thing and put in these blocks to trim that squarish looking spot up. There, a little bit more refined. Alright, so chest. What could we do with the chest to make this the blocks in here look interesting? So we can work and modify the shape of most of these front blocks here, which is kind of cool. But what would look neat with it is the question. Something that looks armored, but with some form of definition in it. So what if we just put in a couple rows like that there? Maybe another row. And then maybe we can do an additive over this or something that will further define what's cut into there. Not a lot of options here, but explore some ideas here to see what could look good. We've got these wedge shapes of these medium blocks. So we could do something like this and have like a couple little half block extensions there. And maybe dump something in the middle here too. I want to keep this thin now. Whatever I put in the middle is kind of like fine detail, I think. I don't want it too bulgy. I just want to get some form of definition in here. So we had a couple of those, and we could put in one of these kind of more deco block kind of things. Or just some like metal beams or something here. Or I do this a lot. Or we could get rid of that and try to go with a different shape pattern entirely. Maybe try to get into some curvy action. That, and then how about the alternative here in the front? I don't know if we want it to look like this or not, though. Again, completely optional stuff. Or maybe this just stays full, and then we also put the trim on it. I don't know. Not sure about that. It's it doesn't really look like armor. It looks like it's trying to mount an Iron Man heart. Yeah, okay. Well, had to try. You know, it's so common that I do this a lot, especially when it's not that big, and I want to try to put in, of course, as much detail as I can muster into something like this, because you only got so many blocks to work with, and it's worthwhile, I think. Just, it doesn't take that long to try different things, and you don't know exactly, what's going to look like super awesome until you try it. And if I never want to be too lazy to try, because that can really suck too. So yeah, I don't know. No, it kind of looks like it's trying to. Yeah, I don't know. As you can see, I'm almost back to square one where I started. All right. Tell you what, let's change direction a little bit. Let's try to focus a little bit on the head now. The head of this. Now, I've been thinking on this part a little bit, and it's like, what do I want to accomplish with this mech? At first, I was saying I don't really want it to look like a humanoid mech, but that's exactly what I built, a humanoid-looking mech. And now it's like, if I wanted to change it now, I don't know how that would really work out. But I can say that I think that comes out too far. And the head should probably go back this way more, one way or another, maybe not be as tall. And now that does not look like a head, of course, but let's try to work on that. Should I have a big head or a little head? Or angled head? Or a head that looks like a head, or a head that looks like a turret wedge or something? That's where a build like this can get kind of tricky. And I don't want this to go down a full block here because I want to have a separation between like the chest and the head, like there's a swivel neck there. So I don't want to go all the way with a full block here. So I'm thinking again I'm going to have to use this funky block that will fit here with the angles and stuff. And I also got to think about, you know, how are you gonna get in this thing? How you gonna see when you're? Is it gonna be third person only? Am I gonna have a glass something or other up there? Another comment I was looking at too, saying that I do a lot of glass cockpits of one order and another, and they're weak. And I know that. I know that. I mean, uh, I guess the way I see it is when I get into something that's really supposed to be combat focused, especially like on a CV or even a HV like tank or something like that. I may have a glass cockpit, but that's not all I'll have. Like on a CV, I'll also have typically some kind of secure internal third-person cockpit. So this way I can have like both, and both work. So you can operate the thing in first person, you can operate the thing in third person, and if you do it in third person, if you use that other cockpit, it is far, far safer than anything that's got like an open view of your battlefield in front of you, or basically through glass. Um, so yeah, I guess, you know, I'm always changing up things a little bit, trying new things as well, and I'll always continue to do that. I mean, half the fun is experimenting, trying different stuff. I don't want to make the same things over and over and over again. Um, so yeah, that's. I mean, if you're building a combat oriented vehicle, yeah, it's a non-glass cockpit's just going to be safer, especially if you put that, you don't have it up front, you have it more in the middle or towards the back of the ship or something like that. If you are going to do glass cockpits on like say an SV or something like that, um, again, they typically look nice right up front, like, you know, you'd see in a lot of current like military creations and things like that. But to be honest, if you have it in back or up tall and back, it's going to perform a lot better. It's going to take a lot less damage. Um, Speaking of that, before I do too much more there, let me spawn a couple more recent SVs just to show you what I was trying to show, what I was explaining there. Take the DFA and the Venom here. Oh, that's a glaive. Venom R2. Well, the glaive actually shares the same principle too as the Venom. Um, Actually, both these ships do. Now, both of these have glass cockpits for piloting, but the way they're set up in the ships, like this one, it's not up front here. It's not this. I look at this typically as your front hit zone, like somewhere in here, usually almost to the bottom side of that too. So stuff gets blown up here a lot. When I build ships, like, let me pull in something with a glass cockpit. Yeah, what do I have with a glass cockpit? I think it's Scar. Yeah, let's just take an older. Let's take like an older Merc here. I don't think currently works with the CPU correctly. Like this one over here. I like this. I mean, I was trying to model this a lot after like just I don't know, a little bit futuristic jet fighter. Um, but this in essence here is weak. There are some blocks up here to deflect some damage, but it's still weak. A couple well-placed hits over here could blow up the cockpit, and then even if the ship's in pretty good shape yet, you're blown out of the cockpit. Whatever's left of your ship's probably going to be shot to death and wasted. So you've lost the fight, and you're probably going to die. um, and that's the problem with doing this. But I like to do this because it makes some of the neatest looking stuff. But with all these other designs, the point is I'm trying to keep that cockpit much. If I'm going to use a glass cockpit at all, I'm gonna put it much further back, kind of on the top, like way back here. This over here is hard to hit. In fact, when I was out with this thing, I took quite a bit of damage, like playing in game, getting hit by heat-seeking missiles or whatever all the time, and I was safe though. I was safe up here. I would not have been safe if my cockpit was somewhere on the front, um, easier to hit. Now this one's kind of a hybrid. It's not quite as protected as the cockpit on this one, but it also has a big bulk of stuff here, and it is way up on the top. So you got that big kind of shield zone here. That'll help you a lot. In fact, when I was out with this one too, I also took a lot of damage, but literally this whole zone around the cockpit remained is intact without even like dented blocks, even though I lost like a good chunk of the back end of the ship when I was flying it around in some other areas like down over here, it's turrets and some damage down here, but this zone here stayed safe. So that's kind of the principle that I've been building like SVs with on tanks. The tanks that are serious, that is, like even like the new MCRN Scorpion or the MCRN Ballista or the Scar Ripper. Those tanks all are third person only, so I didn't put any glass on them at all. They're tanks. I mean, real tanks in real life don't have windows. I mean, well, if they do, it's a very tiny armored window somewhere, but it's not like a big open cockpit like you'd find on a jet fighter. So that's kind of the principle. Again, combat-oriented stuff. The ships that I made that are, well, I don't actually think the Asteria has that, but the newer ship, the Trebuchet, that also has a built-in secure cockpit. I've been doing that with some CVs. The Nemesis also had that. Anything, again, that's more serious about combat will have a safe place for the pilot to be. SVs are the biggest exception that I have not made a SV yet that has no first-person view. I don't believe. So I always feel obligated to put on a cockpit. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not working on the Mech here. I'm just trying to explain all these theories that I've kind of figured out throughout time. Let's bring in an oldie here, MX, the MX-15. So this is one of the earlier SVs I made, and this one was trying to be a tough combat ship. Big problem with it though. This glass cockpit up front, unbelievably weak. So the ship itself is layered, it's solid, it's really quite a tough ship, but extremely vulnerable here, which just sucks. I mean, because I like that first person view. I like to walk in, I like to look through the front, but unfortunately, it's far too weak. I wish there was some way to make something strong, like really strong, that you can see through, like, glass. Like I want to build a glass canopy, for my thing, but I don't want, pew pew, the glass breaks, bam, pilot dead. And it doesn't matter how well protected the rest of the ship is. You got that single vulnerable spot there that'll just destroy you, and that sucks. But I don't know what to do about that. Short of putting the your cockpit like way in back or midship somewhere, and just dealing with it. And like the view on this one, I like better than the view on this one. This one's, I mean, you got to look at the whole bunch of the ship in front of you first. Where the view on this one's great. I mean, you got just open like you're flying. It feels probably more realistic. All right, another tangent. Jeez, I gotta shut up with these tangents. All right, back to the head. I'm just trying to help, especially newer builders or whatnot. Just kind of evaluate things. I mean, because I'm not saying that you got to like build everything with like third-person cockpits. I would hate that if that was the case. But I'm just saying that you just be mindful of where you place that cockpit, because it can be very dangerous. It could be the most dangerous part of your ship, easily. So there is that. And like on this here, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I'd like to have some kind of glass on here, but then I'm like, man, how's that going to work out? How far up do I put it? Do I actually have like some kind of glass up here? Let's just experiment a little bit. And would that be really vulnerable again for the pilot if I did do that? In this case, it's kind of up in the air a lot, so I don't know. Maybe it'd be vulnerable. Maybe it wouldn't be as bad as I think it would be. I just wanted to see what it would look like with the fancy glass here, and say, kind of Cyclops eye thing. Now keep in mind, other little things I did want to do with this, like on the arms itself, would probably have some kind of rocket launcher or something up in this general area. Some kind of rocket tube thing. Seen that it's quite common practice for a lot of mechs out there. And then this would go up another block higher, and the head might sweep back a little bit further. Then another thing I was thinking about on this one too is lift. And I'm thinking I could almost have enough room to fit a large thruster, like maybe a single one for lift, and kind of view it like, or try to style it like it's some kind of jump jet on the back of a Mech, or that's another common Mech practice. So that would be with two. That would be an awful lot of lift thrust, but something like that. And then the other difficult parts would be trying to figure out where you're going to put the thrust going the other directions. So we've got lift thrust there. We've got forward thrust here, which is really minuscule compared to the current lift thrust. But then we need side thrust and all the other thrusts too. So that part's going to get a little more. It's probably not going to fit or look wonderful, but maybe we can hide. I was going to dig in there and place a thruster, but that would not work out very good for the other thrusters. So let's not do that. Let's try another place here. What if we actually put some like right on the bottom? Like something like that. Try to keep it kind of tucked away. Maybe put in something more somewhere in a little bit out of the way area, like that. Try to keep them kind of concealed. And then you got reverse thrust. Reverse thrust I'm not as worried about, because I think in these launcher things I could like sneak in a couple like reverse thrusters out on the arms here somewhere or something. Maybe kind of keep them so you don't see them much. And then you need down thrust. Maybe kind of up in the shoulder areas here we could put in some of that, or on the jetpack. Actually, maybe that's a better idea. Maybe have something like that. Now I do always put an emphasis usually on lift thrust if it's carrying weight, because it's got to move its own weight, whatever it's made of, up, you know, from the planet. So it's just one of those things I'm thinking about a lot is that, oh, and you know what? We don't have any forward thrust yet. Forward thrust is another thing I like to put more emphasis on. Forward thrust and lift thrust are the two big ones that, you know, when I'm tight on CPU, which is almost all the time, yeah, you got to put focus on one type of thrust or the other, because you're not going to have all of it typically, unless it doesn't have any guns or anything else that wants CPU. Now that might be a little much there, but that could work actually. So this technically has thrust in 6 directions now. Just for the heck of it, I want to just hop in here a second and make this thing fly and just see what it kind of performs like. Probably a wonky mess, but let's grab some parts. I don't think this would need the big generator in it, and that would be awfully big for something like this too. So I'm going to try to go with a couple of these smaller generators, which are not that small, but no, that's the big one. Oh, that is the big one. Duh. Large generator, there it is, okay. Pop in a couple of those, and what else are we gonna need? Let's get a couple fuel tanks. I don't know if that's gonna be enough generator power or not. It might be. I'm not running any big XL thrusters or anything. Now, of course, fuel tanks I would not want to put on like the front, like of this in the end. But this is just placing parts right now, so it'll be able to function. Then we're gonna need a whole bunch of CPU blocks here. So one of these. 2 of these. Improved, okay. And then 5 of, well, I don't even know if it's going to need all this, honestly. What kind of CPU are we looking at? Oh. Yeah, okay, I'm freaking out on the core blocks. I'm so used to putting in the full set of them, but this one probably won't need it. All right, so what else do we need to make this work? Pilot seat. Looks like I already had some of those. Okay, pilot seat. So we got fuel, we got our cores, we got our thrust, generators, pilot seat. I think that's all it's going to need to function here. Let's fill it up. Oops. Oops. Yay! I can fly the back. Oh, my view is terrible. 1 sec here. Do some page down here too to try to get this feeling right. Okay, good enough. Strafing's not great. Turning's really good. Turns on a dime. And it is combat steel too, so, and I know it's got a lot of lift thrust. So yeah. Oh, you know what? I just wanted to see how difficult it would be to land this thing. So let me grab a couple landing gear here a second. I must already had those too. And let's say we put in a couple of those there and here for now. Alright, so I want to go land it on the ship below. See how difficult that is. I'm going to try it in first person first. See, now first person kind of sucks for something like this because you literally have no clue on where you're even positioned at. So I guess I won't try it on first person. Go third person here. So I can see what's going on. Now, I'm not exactly known to be a good lander either, so. um, eh, kind of lands there. It's starting to take shape, I think. You know, I got to work out the arms and maybe even like get rid of the symmetry on the arms so I can have like one arm different than the other, which I think would be kind of cool. This wider area back here with the jetpack, I think proportionally works with the build. I like the idea of having some kind of launcher thing here, although I just got some bricks there now. So overall, I think this would, I think it would work. More of a traditional mech, not quite what I was intending on trying to build. It doesn't mean I won't try that again sometime though. But I was kind of looking at like mechs that don't look, are trying to be like humans or humanoid shapes, which I happen to like those a lot too. So, but these, yeah, this might work. This might work. Let's just do the little painty thing there, make it all nice and white. Yeah, I would probably need more armor, another block row up here, some more stuff. But it looks like, you know, especially if I leave something down below here, so you can kind of see that the head connects to the body, especially if it has like a swivel looking block there. It'll probably look right, so it looks like the head could turn independently. Looks like these legs have joints here. One thing I am lacking though is typical mech would also have a swivel like right above this part here, so you can turn the torso separate from the legs, and that is something I don't look like I have in there. So to fix that, what I would actually want to do is like take like some of these blocks down here to like maybe a half row, and then again have like something that you can kind of see through there, that connects it, that looks like it could turn. So then you've got your rotation here for your torso, leg rotation, knee joint rotation, foot ankle rotation. Could even try to like engineer something to make it look like the arms could move a little bit, but usually mechs have their arms are typically fixed to the torso itself, so they would move the same as the torso, and then of course the head could turn independently as well. Just fundamentals of, you know, like well, even humans, on how humans move to some extent. So yeah, I'm probably running this video pretty long again. Sorry I didn't do quite as much as I wanted to on the mech. I got on a bit of tangents about some of the other stuff in some of the comments and trying to explain my theories on glass cockpits and size and whatnot. And again, too, I don't know exactly how I feel. I didn't on the big sled ship here. It's carbon substrate. I know there's a valid argument on saying that that's foolish to use carbon substrate, but man, the idea is this thing just, you don't want to bring it into combat. It is your base. It is your ship that holds everything you own. And, you know, if you're going to engage in or go to dangerous spots, and I know sometimes stuff just sneaks up on you, but I would say, you know, if all of a sudden you start getting shot by stuff, your options are one, to flee, or try to flee, or two, run out, hop into something that hopefully you're carrying that is for combat and engage the target. And if you're playing co-op, you know, a couple players could go out and like jump on combat CVs and get into it. But ultimately speaking, you'd try to keep this safe. And, you know, like if you're really worried about it, when you're going to a new system, typically when you first warp to the star, it's safe. It's a safe zone. Nothing's going to attack you at the star. It's when you go to the individual planets or, you know, different areas, that's when everything's going to jump on you if there's bad guys there. But maybe you just leave this at the Star and you hop into your combat CVs and go there. You know, early inspection if it's just full of dreadnoughts and drones and nullifiers and stuff everywhere. Don't bring this there. um, that's about all I can really say. I mean, because obviously carbon substrate with its very, very weak hit points isn't going to hold up, but the shield will for a little bit if you're not going against anything. Yeah, God, these things have hardly any hit points, do they? 71, 72. So full block is 80. 80 hit points. I mean, with a console command, I could easily swap the material on this to steel, hardened steel, even combat steel. But yeah, I just wanted to keep like all of its thrust power for moving what it's carrying and not itself. And that's why I so far built it with carbon substrate. I could replace blocks in areas that I deem critical. Like engineering and back would probably have, you know, your main generators and shield and warp core and a lot of those big parts, like in this back area here. On either side, maybe I just you know, replaced a lot of the blocks in this area to something stronger. Also, I mean, ultimately speaking, I would think if you were going to take damage on this, it would probably be because you were fleeing from battle, and that damage would probably take place on the rear of the ship and not so much the front of the ship. So, yeah, a lot of things to think about a lot of times, you know, and just, you're just engineering stuff that you know, you got a theory that you think this might work, and then you build something, you test it, and sometimes it doesn't work very well, and sometimes it is like it works how you thought it was going to work. But the more you know about how things work in the game, the better your first guess will be, probably. All right, well, anyway, you all have yourself a good weekend. Tomorrow I do plan on releasing the Plutus M1 Reforged Eden CV Miner. I use this in game. I think it works. It works great. So it's got good thrust, maneuverability. It's very quick at mining. It doesn't require any advanced CPU cores. It's got turret defense. It's not a combat thing, and you don't want to take this into combat, but you know, with the shield up, dogfighting with some drones is not a thing. I mean, you can do that, and you can outmaneuver drones, especially if you hide around asteroids. All right, well, anyway, y'all have yourself a good weekend. I will talk to you later.